Come on the road with us for more gravestone adventures as we cross over the Hudson River from Albany into Halifax, Vermont. And here we are up at our Airbnb that we stayed at up in New England. So stay tuned if you like to see the dedication of the 2 stones I carved for the French and Indian War soldier and for a Mayflower descendant here with David Gillespie.
Flag here.
I like the flag. Thank you for putting the flag out, Linda. So here I am with Carol Otis on my right, your left, and Kelly Otis on my left, your right. Family direct descendants of the 2 here depicted in these 2 stones, and what a great privilege.
My wife's husband, and my wife's sister's husband.
Jacksonville General Store. This area of Vermont had a lot of great shopping and ponds and beaver dams and just all sorts of natural beauty that we greatly enjoyed being a part of. The stones are actually placed here in the Whitneyville Cemetery, just above Halifax. So today we are here, this is Friday morning. We're going to do a dedication for the 2 stones that I carved for the Otis family. And everything has been thought through well, and we have flags everywhere, and we have canopies, and the stones are shrouded so that we have a grand unveiling. And so we're looking forward to this, and we can't thank the Lord enough. We have sunny skies. They were calling for rain a few days ago today, so it looks like the rain has been pushed off to after lunchtime, praise the Lord. So today is a special day. For the first time in 130-something years, actually about 180 years, they'll have a proper burial, a proper marker for their burial, Stephen and Lucy Otis.
Dedication. And what I hope to do during the dedication is not only to recognize our ancestors, but also to thank the Halifax community and to put together.
My name is Rich Holshoe. I live in Brattleboro, traditionally known as Wantastagok. I lived in Halifax for 13
Halifax from 1800 to 1850, predominantly in the area known today as Whitneyville. And 11 of whom survived, and the other children had gone west. Like so many, they were drawn to the fertile, flat farmlands of Upper New York State, and even farther Vermont. By 1820, that industry was the most profitable in the state. By 1836, more than half of Halifax residents owned sheep, was a Baptist. And the Baptist Church was ecclesiastically constituted in 1793. The earliest meetings were held in homes. In 1801, the society voted to build a 35 by 45 foot meeting house on a 3-acre site in lot 37, which is here.
The grave sites of both Stephen and Lucy Otis had been lost for likely over 150 years. So here Carol tells about how she found those sites.
But we never could find where Stephen and Lucy were buried. Stephen and Lucy were some of our most important ancestors. They lived to be 90. He was in 2 major wars. Lucy was a Mayflower descendant, and I felt it was very important to honor them and find their gravestones. So I came up to Halifax in about 1978. How many of you were here in Halifax in 1978?
We were here part-time.
I didn't know where to come, but I drove to Halifax, sort of granite, beige. I'm not sure what stone they were, but there were some stones here. And with the permission of the Cemetery Commission and the Halifax Historic Society, we took those off and we started probing.
and we hit stone. And we pulled out a piece of slate that had the initial LO on it. Connie couldn't be with us that day, but I called Connie or sent her an email. I said, Connie, could this be it? And she said yes. So Roger and Doug continued to probe, and underneath the LO stone in one of these holes here, we found the SO stone, and I knew I'd found their gravesite. We came back the next day, and Andrea Rand helped us look around, and she found James Madison Otis's stone. So we knew we had found them. And then it started the 2-year process.
That really made a difference in this world. And if you think about it, we look at these stones today, and we heard Carol looking for them and having to go through, so much work to find them, that we realize that the material things in life do disappear on us. And to take those 12 stones and pile them up as a monument. And God instructed him to do that, to serve as a reminder for generations to come. And he further said, when children ask, tell them what we did here. This monument today that we are going to be dedicated, this serves as a reminder. It's not a reminder of what happened here. It's a reminder of the lives that this monument represents.
1936. On the vessel Leon, and they settled in Hingham, Massachusetts. Lucy's family came over earlier on the Mayflower. Her direct ancestors are Priscilla Mullins and John Alden of the Mayflower, and somewhat famous for their love affair. But she was the 6th generation, and she grew up in Duxbury, which is where many of the Mayflower descendants found General Israel Putnam reportedly plowing with mules in the field. And there's a famous portrait of General Putnam dropping the drivers for the mules and heading off to raise the militia and go to war. And in April 1775, he joined at age 40 the 100 men who marched from Lyme, Connecticut to answer the call of alarm at Lexington. We're not sure how long General Israel Putnam and the captain, James Jewett, who he'd fought under at Lexington, and they marched out to the Battle of Long Island, which was one of the most disastrous campaigns in the Revolutionary War for the colonists. The colonists were trying to hold New York and Long Island, but the British had a large army, and they were outmaneuvered. And that battle was one of the last battles of the war, and it is famous for the treachery of Benedict Arnold, who had turned forces and was attacking his home state, his home area of Connecticut. It was one of the first major battles ever fought.
Under thy loving protection. Amen.
History tells us that what is needed today is not just a show of greatness and of great power, but a dedication to great ideals and high endeavor.
We're going to have a few remarks from the DAR, and then the person you've all been waiting to hear from, David Gillespie, who...
detail. Right face.
I was just given the shells from the gun, representing liberty, unity, and freedom.
And that tradition goes back to the colonial stonecutters of the 18th century. So I didn't learn from a book, I didn't learn from a video or just by trial and error. It was passed down from person to person for over 200 years of a cutting tradition with chisel and mallet. Much better you can see, and look at Lucy's there. So anytime you have a hard time reading some of these stones out here, please feel free to bring what I would consider the full-length mirror is the best that you have, like on the back of the bed angle. And so you can literally go through an entire cemetery and photograph every stone with the least bit of effort, and you don't have to do rubbings, you don't have to do all sorts of gravestone sins that I've committed in my lifetime, but you can use a no-touch approach. And if you ever want to take a best photograph, you want to be in the vertical center. It's almost a carbon copy of originals here in New England that you'll see up and down. Brown Bess musket. The Brown Bess musket was something that Stephen would have been extremely familiar with, because that gun would have been issued to him with his number on the top of the thumb plate right here. And that's how it would be identified as his particular weapon that he would be responsible for keeping in good order. So as we work our way down, we have these here, and they're kind of strange looking, but we have found that over the years that is palm fronds that come out from behind the cartouche. And the palm fronds were used almost exclusively with people that we know were Christians. And so in Psalm 92 verse 12 it says, the righteous shall flourish like the palm tree. They shall still bring forth fruit in old age. They shall be fat and flourishing. So anytime you see a palm or a palm branch or palm leaves on a gravestone, I think now it would be best to be understood that that is what they were originally going for from the documents that I have seen. And it's interesting to note also that in the Old Testament, palm leaves were also carved on the temple doors in the Old Testament. So it's a symbol of a righteous person flourishing. And as we go down the stone, I have these little base elements on the bottom. I can't exactly tell you what they are, but they look good, and they serve a purpose to balance with symmetry, as well as you see them in Roman shield culture. You see a lot of that in the engravings and the carvings that the Romans did. And I actually signed it, a name here, and the city that I live in here, for posterity, just in case anybody cares. Involved in any part of the process of either one of these two stones. It's all completely by hand, which is how I was trained to draw and to carve these. And then to me, the most interesting part of it is the background, which is stippled. That just brings out another texture, makes it look a little more interesting visually, I think. So these are bellflowers. You see that commonly in gravestones of the 18th century there. Has the common tri-arch shape on the top. Because I think there are a couple willows carved on the stones here. So with Lucy's stone, I went more 1830s. So we have the best of both time periods represented. We have the French and Indian War, Revolutionary War with Stephen. We have the 1830s, which was the time period they both died. So I tried to encompass both periods as part of the history of these two stones here. And I used several photographs of different stones here in the Halifax region to get this weeping willow. And each branch represents one of their 12 children. There's 12 branches. And I also included the urn, which you see in mourning miniatures. If you're into mourning miniatures or have seen any of that, we have seen even here this weekend several with the urn on it. And on the mourning miniatures, they would include things like this, in March 1837. And so that is what you would see. That in these days, especially when both of Stephen and Lucy would have been buried here, we're not quite sure if this is the head or the foot, but we know that either they're here or here to some degree. And the Abiotti company was kind enough to put the footstones at the rear. But when they were buried here, in those days, they would have understood their bodies being almost like a seed planted in the ground. We see that a lot in period sermons, as well as period information about how funerals would have taken place. In the scriptures it says, that which thou sowest is not quickened except it die. So it's just like when we plant a seed of corn or a grain of corn, that seed goes into the ground, but unless that seed decay and rot, it can't produce new life. And so that is how it is described in scripture, as this body was being sown in the ground as a seed. And we see in 1 Corinthians 15, it says this: if it is sown, the body is sown in corruption, it is raised in incorruption. It is sown in dishonor, it is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness, but it is raised in power. It is sown a natural body, it is raised a spiritual body. And so there's a certain type of flesh that dies and is buried in the ground. 15. And so we have that to look forward to someday, that at the great resurrection, these bodies that are planted here like seeds will spread forth, not only these two, but others who are the elect of God, those who love Christ. And so, like Pastor LaPlante was saying, let it be also a way to teach us and to show us our own mortality, that we're not bulletproof and we're not going to live forever on this earth. This is just a temporary dwelling. Even in our 90s, life is so short and sweet. So thank you for having me up here. The last thing I would like to mention is the care of these stones. 6 and 7 hours a day.
If we find a slate gravestone that's maybe 100 years old, is there something we should or should not do to clean that?
That's a good question. I would recommend that the best thing you can do with slates. Slates are less apt to have molds and lichens stick to them than like a marble where it's more porous.
Another stone in the corner, and then, so stunning. I don't know what she bought this place. She fixed up the chicken barn to be a horse barn. David Heilman rebuilt the horse.
I got a picture of chickens
And moved back into the Gertis farmhouse. Yes, right. Yes, right. Yes, I remember the.
That belongs down. So the other thing is, so I've done a study. I was going to write a book about it, and haven't quite gotten there yet. But
the probate office. So if you go to the probate office and you look up their record, not every case, but maybe 1 out of every 50. Next, we're here at the Halifax Community Hall. We're having a luncheon provided by Miss Carol Otis for everybody here that was at the dedication. So let's go eat. Right here. Also, while we're here, the family asked me to pull up the James Madison Otis stone and to deepen the lettering on it because it is so faint it's going to be faded away in another generation. So today down at Halifax Community Hall, Lord willing, I plan to demonstrate how to carve by deepening the letters on this stone here from the early 1800s. It's a piece of slate that is about an inch, 3/4 of an inch, 7/8 of an inch thick, and you can still see the guidelines at the top and bottom. So this could be considered a before shot here. Also, I just noticed as I was looking at it here in the cross light, there are letters underneath the ground level, or at least to here. It looks like an M here. I'm gonna kind of clean it off and see what I can find out. Now, after a little water and a little cleaning here, so there we have 6 years, Y. Right there's the Y. 6 M for months. So JMO, 6 years, 6 months. Just after a little bit of cleaning. I'll turn it into the light. Maybe you can see it better. There's the JMO, James Madison Otis. 6, a beautiful 6. Y for years. 6 M for months. And then at the very bottom, there are 2 more lines here and here. And then a little D right there. So I don't know if that is, or what that is. If it's AD or something else. Okay, so after a few minutes, I've started to carve and deepen this J here. And it's not gonna look like a perfect J. It's gonna look like what the original carver did. So I'm just trying to widen it and deepen it so that it's here for another 200 years, Lord willing.
No. More credit than you're giving me more credit than I deserve.
You carved his M the same way. Which makes me wonder if that M wasn't carved by a Scots-Irish immigrant. I kind of think that.
You were asking me about that yesterday.
Yeah.
Connie's here. You could ask her about all the Scotch.
Oh yeah.
The
Okay.
Scotch.
Okay.
She'll tell you all about it.
Good. Light when I can, but I also have a strobe light over my shoulder that I'll use too. Because without the light, it's harder to see it, but it can be done. It's easier to carve letters without a light, I think, at times, but it's harder to carve 3-dimensional things without it. You have to have a light to carve 3-dimensional things. I do. What's your name?
Scott.
Scott. Good to meet you, Scott. Do you live right here?
Now the action shot. Action!
I can get my eraser here. Sorry.
So that's really interesting to me with the language. When you said slate pencil, I assumed that was what it was. It was made.
And cinch it up in what's called a porta-crayon, 18th century lead holder, and cinch it up, and I'll use it. And cinch it up, and I'll use it when I do period demonstrations. You know that I'm actually drawing letters on it to show what they did back in the day. And I've got that in my book too, talking about the slate pencil. She was like, "What are you not getting here? It's made out of slate."
Interesting how you learned it right away.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just thinking that you learned it from somebody who learned it all the way back,
I know.
to the
Okay, so here's David Gillespie live on scene here in Halifax, Vermont at the community hall. This is my friend Patricia. She has a YouTube channel, and would you please tell us what your YouTube channel is?
Absolutely. Traveling for History.
wonderful.
Traveling for History. Yeah. So please, I'll leave a link in the description below with her YouTube channel. So please go over and subscribe to Traveling for History. And I'm almost done today lettering this this one here. I'm just deepening what was already done. JMO, 6 years, 6 months. So we're going to hope and pray that it'll hold up at least another 100 years here in Halifax. And if it don't, I don't think I'll be back this way after that.
I think it's going to hold up just fine. It's been very special. This is the Otis.
But I'm limited by by my time. So that's James Madison Otis. He's a grandson of Stephen and Lucy Otis, who are buried up at Whitneyville Cemetery. And that means he died at 6 years, 6 months.
Right.
He was born 1807 and died 1813.
And there's nothing up in this section here?
No, ma'am, but there is. You can see that line. And you see
Oh,
right
there
here,
is. Okay.
right here was his compass point, and he would have put the compass in that point right there and used that compass to turn that arc and then carve it out. And then he used the same compass to get his line spacing.
So what's
That's what I do. I got a divider. I might have one in my pouch over there. See, this isn't a compass. I call it a compass, but it's a divider. So see, there's no pencil point in it. So then he takes that line and that line, however he wants to be, and then he turns it from there and says, I'm going to go on that. Then he actually made this line smaller, and he used this for line spacing. There and there, and he would go on down. Now, he didn't do it equidistant, so that's how I do it. I would start here, and I would turn equidistant points down, like that right there, and use that as my line spacing to the bottom.
Do you have anything that you draw on with it?
I'll show her the mirror trick. I'll show her that in a minute.
Because since she goes to a lot of
Okay, so
cemeteries.
that's the best I could do today under the time restraints. But there it is, James Madison Otis, 6 years, 6 months. And gonna try to see if we can find another piece that attaches at the bottom. But if not, we'll just try to get it mounted back in the ground. Maybe Mr. Gary Rand will have some trick up his sleeve to get it back in the ground. I'm very thankful to be out here at Community Hall. Be here for a couple hours, get to talk with a lot of good Halifax people today. Thank the Lord for the sun, not one drop of rain today. And that's no small miracle.
Yeah, it's been a great day.
Okay, Miss Carol, I got it done. JMO, 6 years, 6 months. I tried to be faithful to the original lines. So here we are in front of Community Hall, Halifax, Vermont.
What day is it today? It's how old? Oh, it's a birthday day today, isn't it, Renee? Which birthday?
50.
What? Are you saying happy birthday to her?
I said she's half a century today.
I am speechless. Welcome to Vermont, Mom. I'd have been here sooner, but the rain kept me. Oh, did you drive by yourself? Listen, you were overdue. I wasn't going to be overdue. If I could have surprised you tomorrow.
To you, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Renee. Happy birthday to you.
Pour the bucket from the tree into it, and then walk to the tub and pour it into that, and then you take it back to the sugar house and pour it into and let it run into another tank.
The memories that were made will be cherished for a long time. Special thanks to Carol Otis for all the planning and hard work you put into this. Thanks to Kelly Otis for many of the pieces of video footage. And thanks to the Rands for all that you did to make this possible as well. Please like and subscribe. Please share with your friends, and thanks for watching.